Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first deep dive and what's new webinar for 2025. So today, what have we got installed? Time and attendance module, new default time entry to save you plenty of hours from a HR perspective, and using the software, get some more information and more data from the platform. Wilson and Bradley Supplier Integration is live. Notes improvement, massive game changer, especially from the CRM and job management front. Lots of benefit there. Some USA and Canada improvements. We've added some special features to the software just to really help tackle those markets and make sure that there's plenty going on in the software that's relevant to the way you would like to see it and use it. There's always more coming in that direction as well. So stay tuned. We have plenty of development on the horizon. And webhooks, which is absolutely massive. And it's okay if you're not a developer and you don't know what that means. I'm going to run through it today because it could solve some huge problems for your business. So let's start with the first big one. The Wilson and Bradley supplier integration is now live. It's out of beta. It's being utilized by many companies. Very exciting. For those of you who have seen or are currently using our Hafele supplier integration, you'd be across how good this is from improving a purchase order point of view and a relevance of information just to make sure that you've got plenty available to ensure that your purchase ordering flow is seamless and, most importantly, provides the most amount of data back so you know where everything is at all times. So we're very proud to announce we're very happy with the relationship we have with Wilson and Bradley, and stage one release is out. So you can now upgrade your subscription, take on the supplier integration, connect up to Wilson and Bradley, and you'll get advantage to one-touch purchase ordering, a live feedback API return on your pricing changes and ETDs, which is the big one. When's the stuff actually going to arrive so we can plan our scheduling from there? And of course, activity logging in the software to make sure that you're always across what's happening. And if you need to come back and check historic orders or even make some pricing changes in your catalog, it can be done post hoc. That information stays in the notes section with the purchase order itself, so you can always come back and refer to it, which is very exciting. So this feature obviously will provide a lot of benefit for streamlining your purchase ordering system. It goes directly into the back end of the Wilson and Bradley account, and it uses your organization pricing. So it's linked to your organization. It's very specific, so very relevant. And for a lot of companies, just that ability to utilize Jobman for their batch purchase ordering and then click a button, have that purchase order delivered directly into Wilson and Bradley, and then have that return of information immediately is an absolute game changer. So if you're interested in that, check out the docs and definitely reach out. We'll be able to help you get running and operational with that as quick as possible. One of the big developments, and it's sometimes hard to quantify just how big something like this is, webhooks have come into the software. They actually made it into the software at the end of last year, and we've been able to release them publicly since that point. Now, if you're like me and you're not a developer and you're not sure what a webhook is, I found a pretty good, layperson explanation for what it means. Essentially, a webhook is like an automated notification system between different applications. So one app can send a message, a version of a message to another app in real time, similar to how you might get a text alert when a package is delivered from Star Trek or DHL or something like that. Essentially, it's a way for the apps to talk to each other instantly without needing to constantly check for updates. Now, what this means realistically is traditionally when applications connect to each other, and one of the great things about Jobman, which many of you would be aware of now, is we are built on what's called an open API. So that gives you the ability, basically, if Jobman, say, covers 90% of your solution basis, but there's some other applications you want to use in tandem with it, but you don't want to be continuously double handling that information. One of the great things about the API is we can connect up to those other platforms. You can go to third-party developers, or we have some of our own. Great example would be Xero. For example, we connect to Xero as one of your accounting platform options, and we're able to sync data live. So as you're creating invoices in Jobman, we can sync them up to Xero, all via the API. And then when that invoice goes out to the client pays, for example, via the same API, Xero can come back and tell Jobman that it's been paid. So a lot of automation. It saves double handling. It means you're not having to monitor two databases. You can keep all the information live between the two. Traditionally, the way that information is handled is through a system called polling. And I'm not going to go into details because truth is I probably don't understand it nearly as well as I should. But essentially, it's where the application is built in a way where we're constantly looking for something to change. And that can be quite taxing on the system because it's continuously looking for that information to change. Whereas with webhooks, instead, what happens is the application, and we'll use Xero as a perfect example there, can basically fire a signal when something changes in their system that we can then receive and make changes based on that signal. So what are some real world application benefits to this? Well, the Xero integration is one I just talked about, where using webhooks means we can keep your information up to date more continuously, virtually live, because as they fire that signal, the change of status perhaps for that invoice from sent to paid, so the status change, fires a signal, Jobman can pick it up, grab that information and update your database. What's really exciting for those companies that are developers or have a history of experience with development or third-party development is what you can then use that for in Jobman. And I'll give you some real world fantastic examples of people who've already taken advantage of this service and maybe give you some ideas as to what you could be looking for to solve some other benefits in your business. One great example is we have a number of companies that utilize an application called HubSpot. It's a fantastic CRM. Jobman has a CRM, but it just takes it to the next level. It's very, very good at handling pipeline management. But one of the issues is whilst you could connect the two, there was no way of keeping the data live. So if you made a change in Jobman, for example, and you sent a quote out of Jobman, and then that quote got accepted to quote accepted, and then you wanted to push the lead forward to create a job, you would then have to go across to HubSpot and change that information. So whilst you could connect the two and we could share some data, it wasn't really live, which means you didn't have the ability to see that pipeline being updated in real time. Now, thanks to webhooks, we can. We can have a webhook set up, or in fact, we have a webhook set up and you can take advantage of it where a lead status has changed. We can fire that notification off. HubSpot is listening for it, picks that up, and says, awesome, I will also change the status in my system as well at the same time. So the two systems can run in live synchronous happiness, which is absolutely fantastic. Some other really big use cases for this, and something we will be releasing publicly very shortly, is one of the big questions we often get about the software is, can we take advantage of SMS servicing? And webhooks now allows that process, to happen in our software. So what that means is, for example, you could sign up to Zapier and take on an SMS service provider, and then utilizing what we will document as some web flows for you, you'll be able to connect up in such a way that, say, Jobman, job status changes. So the job status moves from assembly, for example, to installation. Because that change has happened, we can fire a webhook. The Zapier integration will be looking for that webhook, and then you can have notifications set up in such a way where it could fire an SMS direct to the client. G'day, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We've just finished the assembly and final quality check of your new manufactured kitchen. We are excited and looking forward to installing on date X. Make sure you're available because the team will be coming out to finish that job for you. Pure, beautiful automation. And the truth of the matter is, this particular development, the sky's the limit. I could mention 1,000 possibilities for what this means now with the software. So if this is something that you've been sort of looking for, if you have third-party applications that you run alongside Jobman, and this could be of benefit, we absolutely recommend reaching out to one of our supply partners like SKJ Consulting or Empire Blueprint, both of which you can find on the website. Maybe have a chat to them about what could be achieved utilizing this new technology. And I know SMS is a big one. We'll be pushing that one live soon so that everyone can take advantage of it via the documentation. And no, you don't need to be a developer. That's a great thing about the way we're building these workflows. You will be able to take advantage of them, sign up for the 2 accounts, and then build it. We will build the workflows out for you just so you can connect everything up. And then you're moving forward, basically. Jobman can now send texts. We can update other applications for you. Absolutely phenomenal. So really exciting. Don't worry too much if that one's not a big one for you, but it really is the next gen of technology advancement for most companies. And it's just yet again another reason how Jobman is going to be able to protect your business well into the future. We can keep up with modern technology and make sure that your ERP will never go out to date. Some US and Canada improvements, not necessarily specific to USA and Canada. Some of these benefits actually are already being used by many other companies worldwide. But the big one that I know a number of companies have been waiting for is square foot and linear foot optimization for quoting. So we've had square meter optimization for a long time, and many companies across Australia, New Zealand, and the world have taken advantage of that to produce fast, efficient quoting, profit driven, validated data with quote summary reports, but most importantly, utilize that information to then control and manage their scheduling. It's such a huge part of the platform benefit to business, having your automation come from a quote into your job and then manage all your scheduling capacity from there seamlessly. Go to Hawaii and chill out and have a cocktail and know that your business is going to be running not a problem at all. One of the things we've been waiting for and certainly been pushed as we've been moving larger and larger and more into the US and Canadian markets is whilst most of them are very comfortable with the idea of utilizing square meter, even though they tend to use the imperial metrics, we wanted to make it easy so that you could utilize the software in a language that makes sense to you. So we've added square foot and linear foot optimization now. So you can build your products in feet, build your materials with square foot conversions into them, and now take advantage of that quoting. It's already been extremely well received, and we expect that there will be more and more people getting very excited by the fact that there's now an opportunity in the Northern Hemisphere to take advantage of a job management and ERP system that isn't hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And it's certainly something that has been missing up there. I mean, Australia and New Zealand have been very lucky for many years that we've been around at a phenomenal price to return of investment ratio. And now the rest of the world can really take advantage of that too. The other two things we brought out, which are probably more relative to just the whole world outside of Australia, is TRN handling instead of ABM, just a language change so that now you can put your tax registration number into the system so it can be used as a reference point on templates for invoicing and quotes, for example. As ABN is specific to Australia, it makes sense that now the rest of the world can have a TRN instead. And the other big one was the ability now to choose the custom date ranges for your fiscal year. So one of the things many of you would be aware is a lot of our reporting has financial sides to it, where you can look at last financial year, for example. All of that was preset previously. Now we've opened it up. You can go into your settings, organization, hit update, and then choose your financial year. You can choose your dates. So, for example, I believe most of America runs March March to April. New Zealand is different. Virtually every country in the world is different what they consider to be their financial year. I know a number of countries just use the calendar year. So you can now set that up rather than being defaulted to July 1st to June 30th. So really exciting, and just another way of showing that we really do take our clients' feedback seriously. Don't ever feel that when you're putting those suggestions into the help desk that they're being ignored. We always do listen to them, and over time these things come in, and the platform just keeps getting better and better, which is awesome to see. One of my favorite releases for 2025 is notes improvements. Now, notes, as we all know, are the foundation of information control at a frontline level. So if you work in lead management or sales management, anything along those lines, you'd be fully aware of how important notes are. We've always had notes throughout the software. There's plenty of area for notes. There's notes inside leads, notes inside jobs, notes inside dashboards, notes inside tasks. There's many, many different ways in which you can leave notes relevant to the team so that important information doesn't necessarily get missed. Now, one of the best benefits of the platform is using what we call the alert system, which is a way of actually notifying people when things go wrong or things need to change or they need to be aware of things. And that's been well adopted throughout almost every user that I've seen. Alerts is a phenomenal feature, can be set up and utilized from the kiosk mode and then linked out to the office use management mode. Work orders can be built from it. So as far as fast information goes, very important feature. Something we definitely felt could be improved, though, was the front-end handling of notes. And I certainly am someone who's a big believer in transparency. And it's in fact one of the core reasons why people go looking for an ERP. We want to keep the whole team on the same page. So notes then become very important for that information. So what we've done is a couple of big upgrades. The first upgrade is we've ubiquitously or unanimously throughout the entire software moved notes to the front of all the dashboards. So as soon as you come to a front dashboard of a job or a lead or any area in the software, you will see that notes area now. And that's really important because if that's the first touch point for anyone, any of your project managers or sales teams or lead teams coming into that area, it makes the most sense that the first thing they should see is all the notes. So if there's anything relevant to the conversation, and I'll use leaders as a good example because I guess it makes the most sense. I've been talking to this person, we've been discussing options, and we're about to move forward with the process. In that notes area, I probably have several notes that are relevant to both me, but then anyone else in the business. And that's important because if I go away for a week and that client rings up and says, "Hey, where are we at with our quote for this manufactured item with your business? Where are we up to? What's going on? What are the next steps?" Without someone having to freak out and dive around and wait for information or jump into people's emails or try and find bits of paper on someone's desk, those notes now there are relevant right in front of you. You can quickly read the notes, pick up where you're up to, use the lead management, and continue the process with or without me being there. So absolutely big part of every company process. And not just lead management as well, job management, very important. There's often quite a lot of notes that people like to put into the system. And now being able to put that on the front page means that I imagine for a lot of people, the process now will move away from putting those notes into the lead or job. Have them on the dashboard so they're visible, they're relevant, everyone can see them. There's one place now, and they're very easy to access. So what were the actual upgrades? One of the big upgrades, aside from putting the to default, was now making them editable and deletable. This was a big request from people. They said sometimes you just accidentally write the wrong thing, and it's not that you don't want accountability in the software, but sometimes you just want to remove out a note and make sure you can keep moving forward. So we have made them editable and deletable. However, they require permissions if you are to edit or delete someone else's. So as a management team, you might not necessarily want your staff being able to go in and edit and delete other people's notes. Notes, after all, are about accountability. It's like putting information there. They are staff monitored. So when you create a note, it will show you the staff member, the time and date. So there's a lot of transparency there from the activity logging. And it's important to note that you might not necessarily want certain notes being removed from your system. So there's a permission there that can stop other people deleting and editing people's notes, with the exception of administrators. Administrators can do everything, so they will be able to edit, delete other people's notes. You can, of course, edit and delete your own notes, which is good. We've also now made them visible in the kiosks, so it's very easy now if there's some relevant notes in the system to be out for the kiosk members to be able to jump on the jobs page or the leads page, and again on that direct note area, they can read through any relevant notes that are there. When it comes to sharing information, we definitely recommend the best place to put notes relevant for the kiosk team is in fact on the tasks themselves. So go into a task, hit update, you'll see that beautiful description, real-time editor, rich text editor, I believe it's called, in the notes section. You can put that in there. The advantage of that is that's a column that can be turned on their agenda screen. So when it comes to fast information control, we definitely want to make it easy for them to access the information they need. So the information will be right there for them. They can't miss it. So anything that's critical for them to think about as part of that operation, we recommend putting and utilizing task notes. But general job and lead notes can now be placed there. They can also place them in for you as well, meaning that there's a lot of transparency of information. Everyone's on the same page, which is a big one. And of course, we have now created a beautiful new formatting tool called Rich Text Editor, which is available in the notes. So you can see here now, you can take advantage of that and pull things in such as lists, hyperlinks, even basic format text editing for things like bold, italic, underline, just so that things are really clear and formatted nicely. And you can see the history and activity there built into this system all live. Nice and easy, absolutely fantastic. Huge improvement. Sounds like a very minor thing, but it's actually a massive improvement for the software. Now, I'm going to get ahead of myself here because I know the question is going to come up in Q&A. So I'm just going to dive in and answer it now to make life easy. At the time of this webinar, which is February 27th, 2025, currently there is no way to @ someone in the notes section. So it's a commonly requested feature. I have a note. I sort of want to highlight that, someone notify them. It's very important. They know that information. They might not necessarily look at the notes before they start their job. So that is not yet currently available. However, it is on our roadmap to complete. So Just to answer that question ahead of time, I'm sure it will come up in the QA, but just to let you know, that is definitely the plan where you should be able to go in and choose a particular staff member and let them know, kind of like a micro alert. Hey, put this note in. It's important to note. Make sure you check it before you move forward. Nice and easy. They'll receive a notification and off we go. As a process, though, we definitely recommend that notes are one of those areas people should be looking at before they kick off on their tasks and jobs because they are very important for information. So definitely keep your eyes tuned for that one, but take advantage of this now because huge benefit to a lot of businesses and definitely was a highly requested feature. Probably the biggest release for this year, though, and something we've certainly been working on for a long period of time, is the new addition of default time entry to our system. So, for those that have been using Jobman for many years, and there are certainly hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, in fact, thousands of users that have been benefiting from the software for many, many, many years, you would be aware that one of the primary distinct benefits of the platform has always been time measurement. So the ability to say, I have an operation, that operation, let's call it cutting. We've quoted 20 hours, for example. Now I want to go get the team to measure that time. And that's one of the best return on investments for continuous improvement for companies to be able to say, yep, took 18 hours, awesome, we're ahead. Took 20 hours, no problems, we allowed for that. Took longer than 20 hours, that could be a problem. We'll keep our eye on that. Oh, it's consistently an issue. Okay, we have a process we need to improve. And that's a big way in which the platform can put dollars back in your business very quickly. As part of that, there's always been the ability to build what we call default operations, like a custom internal job. And then companies have taken advantage of the fact that we can sync timesheets to Xero and MyOb and soon to come QuickBooks, so that the team can basically fill out their payroll for the week for you. And that does two things. One, it massively improves your reporting because you're getting better data. And two, it takes a lot of stress off the shoulders of, small business owners or HR teams and, management teams where they're having to rely on cheat sheets and that information. Now it's all live. It's coming from the system. There's no cheating. We can really get a great feel for what our team is working on and also how long they've been there, which can then automate some of the payroll processes. And this has benefited a lot of businesses for a very long time. One of the things, though, that wasn't so smart about it was a bit more difficult from what we call a non-productive time point of view. So for a lot of companies, they utilize like a Bundy clock system where, hey, someone walks through the door, I'm here. Technically, as of that moment, they start getting paid. They might then take 15 minutes and they have their 5-minute toolbox meeting in the morning with management, maybe a cup of coffee, get settled for the day, and then they start their first operation where they go into Jobman. Yep, I'm now working on this cutting on this job or work order or this lead, for example. Now, with the default time entry, we're able to solve that problem in one easy click. So from the kiosk mode now, we have this new fantastic feature called Clock On. So they basically jump on their kiosk, enter their PIN, and just hit a button. Bang, I'm here. And then it will start producing this non-productive time field in the back end of their system, their timesheet. They don't see their timesheet, so it's just filling out. And then when they're ready to go jump on their first task, they go jump on their first task, and Jobman will start measuring their time. So what this means for a lot of companies is we've solved two massive problems. Number one, we've always solved the problem around productive time management and return on efficiency for effort reporting. Now we can virtually seamlessly control your HR, accounting, and payroll report as well. All in a couple of clicks from the team. It also improves engagement from the team. The more we can get them using the kiosk, the more they will be actually filtering data in the system, ticking those boxes off, getting those operations done, using the platform, providing you with more and more and more data. And as we know, data is the new oil. It's the information you need. It's part of the reason you have the system. So very exciting for that to be able to both be managed on both fronts now to the point where you virtually won't even need to worry about doing payroll every week, which is cool. Now, on top of that, we've developed some smarts, and it was part of the reason we wanted to take our time and get this right, is because there's a lot of common questions that happen when it comes to, I guess, default time entry or Bundy clock type systems around automation. So we wanted to make sure we brought those in as well, and a couple of them are very smart. Number one, you can set up your work allocated allowance hours. So what that means is you set a period within the day with which you are happy for that staff member of that payroll type to be able to log in. And clock off. So the importance of this is not necessarily to put in your work hours. If you open 8 till 5, we don't recommend putting in eight till 5 because it's likely that a lot of your staff actually come in earlier and quite often work later. So the idea is to put in a range time where you can basically say, so long as they clock on after this point and they clock off before this point, we're happy to pay them for that period. So this is really exciting because it solves the problem of, hey, we, as part of our contracts, we don't care what time they actually get here, so long as everyone's here and working clocked on by 6, but we don't pay them before that. So you can set 6 a.m. and even if they come in at 5:55, it's not actually going to start recording time for their payroll until 6 a.m. Similarly, at the end of day, it gives us basically a period with which some companies, on their cheat sheets, have staff and they try and put through and they say, oh, I worked a bit later and I'm looking for overtime, and that it solves that problem now where you can say, hey, we don't pay past this point without approval. So the system will automatically clock you off your default time as of that point. And that's all you're going to get paid for. So there's no point staying any longer or messing around because you're not going to get paid past that point anyway. The other benefit of being able to set up that clock off period time is it means that now if a staff member doesn't clock off past that point, they forget to or accidentally go home, 3 hours beyond that point, Jobman will automatically clock them off and reduce their attendance back to that point. So it solves the other big question we get is what happens when people forget to log off. Now, it doesn't solve the logging off task issue. That's something we definitely need to improve as a process and make sure we're across on the company, but it is easily fixable in timesheet management. But it does now mean from a payroll sense, we can really automate this process. And really, it doesn't matter whether you're a small company or a big company. Every company is spending, an hour and a half to 2 hours. I've heard of some companies where it's almost like a day job to go in and fix up and manage payroll sheets and work out where everybody's up to and sick leave and all that sort of stuff. And we can seamlessly bring that down to minutes for your team now, which just puts a huge amount of time back in their pocket to be doing more productive things for your business and helping you make more money. So really exciting. This is something we've been looking for a long time. There's a couple of other really awesome features involved with it. We now can automate breaks. So what that means is if you have a standardized break system, maybe you have a 15-minute smoker in the morning and then half an hour for lunch where they don't get paid for that period. You can set those automatically up in the system and Jobman will detract that 15 minutes and that half an hour from their total attendance at the end of the day. One of the cool things about that is you can actually override it. So let's say you put in the break time for 1 o'clock, 1 to 1:30 every day. That's their half an hour. They get taken off, and I'm still working during that period. I don't want to lose that productive time. I'm almost finished. It's just another 15 minutes, and I'll finish that cutting for that job. I can keep going. And then at 1:15, for example, I can go in and I can start my break at that point. And all Jobman will do is go, yep, cool, no worries. We're still going to allocate the half an hour, but we're just going to move the time period on the timesheet to show the break at 1:15 to 1:45. Best thing is they don't need to go and clock back in when they come back from their break. Jobman will automatically pick up from the half an hour break, allocate it to their timesheet, and they just come back and start working. Nice and easy. Now, a couple of questions around that I've had already from people, so I may as well share them with you because I'm sure the thoughts are crossing your mind as we speak. What happens if our team does not always take half an hour breaks? What if, they range from half an hour to 45 to an hour? We sort of want to know what that time period looks like. Our recommendation is don't use the automatic break. In your system, don't set it up. Just basically have a system where they come in and they clock off and they clock back on when they come. That'll give you the most accurate, realistic data. The point to the automatic breaks is to save HR a lot of messing around. They know that you don't get paid for half an hour lunch. We're going to take that off your thing automatically. If you have a very, very trusting culture in your business, which we certainly hope most businesses do, where, an employee says, hey, I need to nick off and I need to go sort something out during my lunch break, maybe a doctor's appointment or something, so I'm probably going to be 15 minutes late back. No problems. I'll stay 15 minutes behind. That's cool. All that can be handled in the system. But if it is a common occurrence in your business where people have randomized break times, randomized start and finish breaks, length of breaks, just don't use the automation of breaks. It's just there if your company has a fairly good, solid structure set in place, then you can take advantage of it. The best thing, though, is that it's single touch clock on, single touch clock off, and it will fill their timesheets from there. So really exciting, absolutely massive benefit, something that a lot of businesses for certainly a long period of time have hoped that Jobman could deliver. For a lot of businesses, this means they'll be able to get rid of their Bundy clock systems. So we're just putting more and more value into the software for you, and also solve some big problems around HR management as well, and getting that idea of how much of their day is actually spent productively. And I think that's an important number to understand from any business. I will make one small caveat because the question has come up already. Currently, payroll reporting syncing for Xero is only available in Australia. It's not currently available in New Zealand and the rest of the world. It's simply because of the way Xero handles its API in different countries. We'll be looking at that and seeing if we can work out a way with Xero where we can bring that benefit to other businesses. It's not a problem though, because the payroll reporting picks up the information. So we've updated the payroll reporting now so that even if you don't use Xero MyOb or QBO, for example, so it's not a benefit we can bring your business, you can still utilize this clock on methodology and then get the benefit out of the payroll report for your business. Just no automation coming across via the API. However, it's certainly in our game plan to get that done for as many countries as we possibly can. So really exciting. Stay tuned. We don't have an ETA on that right now, but I'm sure it'll be happening very shortly. So all I really wanted to show today at the end of this webinar was just a quick demonstration how you could take advantage of the clock on, clock off. It's always useful, I think, when a fantastic new massive feature comes in to get a bit of an understanding around it. And there's only really two parts that you need to set up. It's very easy. There's great documentation as part of the release. So if you've seen this webinar and you're interested in taking advantage of this feature, please do jump into the docs and check it out. There's some great documentation that's been written there to make this really easy. But I just thought I'd quickly jump on while we're here and just show you a couple of the key points. Really, there's only two key points. The first key point is just making sure we've turned it on for them so they can see the button ready to go. So settings, staff, roles, any of your kiosk related roles. So you might have roles relational to factory workers, or more specific than that, factory forepersons, installation teams, however you've got it set up. Not a problem at all. Jobman can handle it. But just make sure any of your kiosk related kiosk related roles and permissions are set to have this upgraded. So it's nice and easy. Just come down now to the kiosk area and you'll see there's a fantastic new button called clock on, clock off. Just make sure that's ticked on and hit save, and now that button will appear. While I'm here, I'll just very quickly mention another great little feature that's come into the software in the last couple of weeks. Wasn't on my webinar format, but while I'm in the area, it's worth just making a quick note of. We have always had the ability to control Office users from being able to mark tasks or operations as non-applicable, which basically means, no, this is not relevant to this job or lead. Let's get it out of the way so that nobody has to do it. What we didn't do is we didn't put a specific role permission in for the kiosk to stop them doing it, because obviously, it's not their job to decide what they do and want to do. That's handled at a much higher level. So that has now come into the system as well. So you can choose whether or not they have the capability to do that. So if you do not want them to be able to come in and mark tasks as non-applicable, simply turn those boxes off, turn on the time clock entry, and then hit save. And now it's not up to them. They can't NA tasks. They can only start, pause, stop, or complete, which is really their job there. So that's step one, is making sure that it's turned on for them. And then the second step is we need to just update some pay rate awards so that we can basically give Jobman the information it needs to understand those basic setup parameters. What are the hours of your business and what are you looking at from an automation of break point of view? So nice and easy into your staff settings. So settings, staff, pay rates, plenty of things going on here. You've got your items, types, breaks, and awards. Breaks is where you can set up the default breaks. The advantage of having multiple breaks in the system, it means the task person can choose which break they're on. So it can let you know where that information is. But if you come directly into awards and jump in here, general, that will bring up a screen you're all probably very used to seeing, which is how many hours does our business pay for normal time versus overtime versus double time. So you should have that set up already, but you'll now see a new area, which is called a schedule. This is in relation to the clock on, clock off, and it's very easy to utilize. Basically come in, set up your start of shift and end of shift. And then these are the 2 points at which the software now will say, so long as they clock on at this time or after, we'll start measuring their time. If they clock on before, we will actually not start paying them or loading that productive time till 7 a.m. And then similarly at 5 p.m., they can clock off any point up to and therein. If they clock on after, we'll simply reduce the time and attendance allowance to say finished at 5. That's when you get paid to. That's your contract, not a problem. And similarly, if at any point up to 8 o'clock, I forget to clock off, Jobman will now come in and go, right, you've obviously forgotten to do that for the night. We're going to clock you off and roll your permission back to 5 p.m. That is not to say that you can't allow overtime with the system. So you can say to people they can keep working productively. They can be measuring productive time. It's just not going to roll into their allowance. So make sure you do, like I said, this is not really about business start time and end time. This is really about making sure you've got a big enough allowance in the day that your team can measure the correct amount of time for what they work. So if they're out doing installations and they're working 10-hour days, give them a big enough gap to measure that time so that you can filter the information to your reporting system to make sure they're getting paid for the hours they work. This is just to help with the automation. And then, of course, the second one is then adding in those breaks. Again, nice and easy. I'll just quickly create a new break for you. Let's call it Smoko. It's a pretty common break in most places. And it's very easy. Basically, you just come in here and you say, when's the Smoko? We're going to set it up so that it's, say, 9 a.m. And you just give it a duration, 15 minutes. And that's it. And now every day automatically at 9 o'clock, it will clock them off, put them onto break. It'll sit there. It'll take 15 minutes off their total allocated time. And then when they come back, they don't have to clock back on. The system automatically picks up from where they were. So very easy to set up, very easy to use. You can have multiple breaks ready to go, whatever makes your life nice and easy. And then if you want to have the break, but it's not necessarily relevant, you can come in here and just remove those times. And now it's sitting there. And maybe if it's not working for you, you can just remove those back and then there won't be an allowance in there for that automation. So like I said, if your business structure is set up in such a way where they're a bit random where they come in and out, and you're worried about them, choosing to choose their start break time, then that's fine. Don't set up the automation of breaks, make your life nice and easy. And of course, all that leads into how easy it is now to use in the kiosk. So I come in the morning, I enter my PIN, ready to rock and roll for the day. And literally I can just come straight into the software. This will load much faster on their personal devices because it's not in incognito mode. And bang, that's it. I clock on. First time they do this is the only time we have to do this. Basically, we do geolocate their clock on points. It's important for a lot of companies to know that they're actually clocking on site or where they should be rather than just randomly sitting at home. And you can set that up. They accept it the first time. It won't ask them again. It's just because I'm in incognito mode that will pull through. And now it knows where I am, when I've started, what I'm doing, and it's measuring that productive time. You can see automatically this changes now to a clock off symbol. So I know at the end of the day, all I need to do is hit that clock off. If at any point I need to start my break because I'm not actually coming into my break at the scheduled time, nice and easy. I can just come in here and hit start break. Like I said, it will move from that default time entry point, which I think at the moment is set up at 12:30 to 1, and instead set that break up at that point. We'll still only deduct the 1/2 an hour from their time period, wherever they take it. So if I took it early at 11 o'clock, say, it's only going to pull out that 1/2 an hour. But it just does give them that ability to move that and use that automation still, because I think it's a great automation for both HR and the team, but not have to worry about specifically taking my lunch at a particular period of time. And then I can move about my day. I can come in here, I've had my toolbox meeting, and I can start utilizing the software as normal and working on these tasks ready to go. Start measuring my productive time so that you're getting a nice filled, rounded timesheet. No more cheat sheets, no more stuffing around. All nice and clean, all nice and relevant, and most importantly, extremely easy to use, which is what it's all about.